welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this Thursday Night Football Showdown slate on Draftkings and Fanduel. Excited to get into it. Before we do, a quick reminder that if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll be here all NFL DFS season long, breaking down these NFL DFS slates to help you guys become better NFL DFS players and help you guys win some money. Get in that green. Of course, that's always the goal on this channel. We're going to go ahead and do that in this video via Showdown slate. The last thing, if you are going to be very serious about NFL DFS, I would highly recommend my NFL DFS premium package. It's linked below in the description. You get access to all the same tools that I use when building my own NFL DFS lineups, and I've been making some major improvements as well, adding a top stacks tool and a projected ownership ability over there on the spreadsheet. Getting a lot of really good feedback from my Patrons, and I expect that those tools are really going to pay off for you. If you haven't checked out my NFL First Look video yet for this week, check it out. I went over my top stack tool from last week, give you a little sneak peek as to what it has in the future, and let's just say it did a very good job of detecting some of the top stacks. So with that being said, let's go to start breaking down the Showdown slate. As always, we'll start out with Draftkings. A little bit of a different format. Of course, they have the captain, the 1.5 times point, but the salary fluctuates. Fanduel's a little bit of a different dynamic. We'll go over that on the second half of the video. And it all starts at the top right here with Joe Burrow on this Showdown slate. He comes in at 17-4. His team has a 26.75 implied total, are 7.5 point favorites. So, of course, the team that's expected to score more points, we're definitely going to have interest in. And as far as Joe Burrow and how he's grading out in my projections right now, I do have him graded out to be the highest projected player on this Showdown slate. Definitely in a good spot here. This Jacksonville Jaguars secondary does not scare us, and when you're looking at this Cincinnati offense, they have been slinging it all over the place, and they definitely do have some pretty good weapons here. And T. Higgins recently going down with an injury is now going to definitely clear up the target share, I would say, for sure. There's definitely going to be a lot of targets going to Jamar Chase's way for sure. I mean, the guy has looked absolutely fantastic. Him and Mr. Burrow being college teammates before, clearly translating over to the NFL, and the chemistry is definitely there. I mean, you see the results. 7 targets, 4 targets, 5 targets so far, but more importantly, the touchdowns 1, 1, and 2 has found the pay dirt every single week, and he's definitely going to be a guy that I have interest in. And then, as mentioned, I'm really not impressed by either of these secondaries. On the Jacksonville side, all cornerbacks grading out to be just absolutely terrible from a coverage grade aspect as far as I'm concerned. Shaquille Griffin, Chris Claybrooks, Tyson Campbell, none of the above are going to scare me. And as mentioned, Tyler Boyd as well could be a very valid stacking option. As far as, you know, comparing some of their stats, how they've been grading out as far as their target share, etc., who's been getting the most looks, it all does start with Tyler Boyd so far in the season. He has a 26.03% target share of his team's overall plays. 26% of the targets are going his way. 4, 9, 6 targets throughout the first 3 weeks. So, of course, he's going to be, you know, my top priority as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure a lot of people are going to go to Jamar Chase for a good reason. But I like to be a little bit different when it comes to this, because if you look at the breakdown, Tyler Boyd has 26% of the targets and Jamar Chase has 21% of the targets. So, based upon that, if we find that there's going to be a huge ownership gap in these two players, I'll definitely go overweight on Tyler Boyd. It's showdown slate. Anything can happen. I don't feel it's necessary to really have to go overweight on Jamar Chase if he's going to be very popular compared to Tyler Boyd. That could be a nice little contrarian take for you there as far as the showdown slate. And then, of course, let's not forget about the run game. Joe Mixon has been an absolute beast. He's accounting for 83.75% of this team's runs. He's been out there for a ton of snaps. I'm not too worried about the Jacksonville run defense whatsoever as far as how they grade out. They're the 6th best team to target in terms of running backs this season so far, giving up 28.8 points per game to running backs. And everything makes sense for Joe Mixon here. If you're not going to be playing the pass game, Joe Mixon is also going to be getting targets. Breaking down some of his snap count data here on my snap count data tool. As I said, 83.75% of his team's overall runs. He's also accounting for 9.59% of his team's targets. I would expect for that to even go up, to be honest. I mean, he's only been targeted 4, 2, and 1 time so far throughout the first 3 weeks. I anticipate that he could be targeted a lot more out of the backfield in some particular matchups, and this could maybe be the case. And he's definitely going to be a great leverage play off the pass game. If we find there aren't a lot of people going to Mixon in the captain spot, of course, we could definitely be looking his way. And I think that's a pretty good overall breakdown in Cincinnati. I mean, they're pretty narrow target share offense. It's pretty easy to be breaking down. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. And then as mentioned with T. Higgins going down with an injury, it's going to be freed up even more. Drew Sample, the tight end, not really being involved in the pass game whatsoever. So, I mean, I'm not getting all too excited to be playing any of him in tournaments, to be honest with you, on Cincinnati, as far as anyone else from the tight end position. That really stands out to me. CJ Ozuma, same kind of thing. I mean, as far as his overall ability and pass catching ability, he's only seeing about 6.85% of his team's targets, playing 72.5% of snaps, but I don't know. It just, it seems like it's getting a little too cute on this slate, and I think we can be pretty clear as to who we're going to. The only other guy that I would say with T. Higgins going down with an injury that could see an increase in targets would be some Auden Tate exposure as far as his ability to play and everything. He's only 600 on Draftkings, and he's expected to be the third slot receiver here. As far as his last time out, he only saw 1 target, 1 reception. And even with T. Higgins out, he barely factored in the Bengals offense. Only 1 catch, 1 target. Man, apparently Mike Thomas getting just as many snaps. So those would be he'd be kind of the punt player looking to. But even then, I'm not getting all too excited, to be honest. And that would be the overall Cincinnati side. I think it's pretty simple. You can stick to your guns as far as these main guys that they're really targeting. And then as far as on the Jacksonville side, as mentioned, they're expected to be playing from behind in this one. Trevor Lawrence is going to be my top graded out player on their side. Both QBs, of course, followed by Marvin Jones Jr. They're the two that are really going to be standing out on the Jacksonville side. And obviously, I would anticipate those two guys to be pretty highly owned here, but for good reason. They're expected to be playing behind a 7.5-point spread. And when they're throwing early and often here from Trevor Lawrence, his top target is going to be Mr. Marvin Jones Jr. So it makes a lot of sense to be pairing these guys up in tournaments. 9, 11, and 8 targets so far for Marvin Jones Jr. One of the top guys as far as a target share perspective, honestly, in the whole NFL so far in the season. He's accounting for 24.56% of his team's overall targets. He's been out there for 91.9% of his team's snaps. Out on the field often, getting targeted often. It all makes sense when you're targeting Marvin Jones in your tournament. So, of course, it's all going to start with stacking him up. And the next guy is DJ Chark, followed by Laviska Shenault Jr. I mean, DJ Chark's out there for 83.8% of snaps, Shenault out there for 71.2% of snaps, and they're accounting for 19.3% of the targets is DJ Chark, and 17.54% is Laviska Shenault. Shenault. So, obviously, these are the guys that you're going to be looking to. It's really not rocket science as far as the Jacksonville side. They're expected to be playing from behind. You should be targeting the pass game. It's these 3 guys. And I would say that Marvin Jones Jr. is going to be my favorite. And from a fantasy point perspective, as far as the defense and how these Cincinnati cornerbacks grade out, they're not really very good either. Not really too worried about them whatsoever. Eli Apple, Mike Hilton, and Awuzie, not good from a coverage aspect. And I think that this game could be pretty high scoring, to be honest. So a 46 over-under, I think it could even top it. I think you can definitely run it back with the Cincinnati options. And then as far as the running game is concerned, it all starts with James Robinson. He's only been out there for 64.6% of his team snaps on the season. However, we did see him break out and have a big game last week. As far as how this Cincinnati squad has fared against the run so far on the season, 11th best team to target in terms of running backs, giving up 24.5 fantasy points per game to those running backs. So James Robinson, also a guy that does get targeted quite frequently out of the backfield. 6 targets last week. He had 6 receptions, 1 touchdown, 88 yards on the ground, 15 rushing attempts. Did it all, and he's definitely a solid run back option. So overall, I would say both of these offenses are pretty clear-cut. We know where the ball is going. I mean, as far as a sneaky play, there's not really much going on here. It's going to be, as far as a sneaky play, the tight ends on both sides, and that would be James O'Shaughnessy on the Jacksonville side, CJ Uzomah on the Cincinnati side, and then Jacob Hollister on the Jacksonville side accounts for 5.26% of his team's overall targets. And with O'Shaughnessy now on the IR, I guess he could maybe be the sneaky play here that you could be possibly targeting. But other than that, I'm really not feeling all too great about getting away from the main candidates here in both offenses. As far as Hollister in his first game, he did see 6 targets, 2 receptions, 15 yards. So it is a little bit promising that he saw 6 targets and he only had 1,000 on DraftKings. He definitely could make sense as a salary relief option for you in this spot. But then you also have Dan Arnold expected to be in there in the mix. And he might be actually the one that we should really be focusing in on, because he did see 4 targets as well with a long of 12, 23 yards, etc. So he was traded away from the Panthers along with a 3rd-round pick on Monday, and we could see him factor into this offensive game plan a lot more than other tight ends were previously. So that's something definitely to note here. And as far as a lineup build, let's go ahead and just create a lineup build. As always, you're going to want to do a game script. We'll start with Draftkings. I talked about some of the guys that I've graded out as far as the best values. I mean, I'm really high on Joe Burrow. We know where the ball is going as far as his passing attack. And as I said, I don't really think this Jacksonville defense is going to be able to slow them down. It is proven on these showdown slates that in the captain spot, oftentimes it's not QBs that win these games, because while they might have a big game, you really need the touchdowns from the pass catchers or the running backs. So in this case, let's go ahead and play Mr. Tyler Boyd, the guy that I mentioned does top Jamar Chase for targets in this offense. Maybe get some leverage on the field with a 26.03 target share percentage so far for him. And put him in that captain spot. Go with Joe Burrow as well. Mix in some run game for Joe Mixon, thinking that they get up big here. We're going to run it back with Marvin Jones Jr. I said my favorite wide receiver on the other side. And then this is where we need some salary relief. So it might make sense to go to that new weaponized I mentioned in Dan Arnold on the Jacksonville side, needing some yards to get back in this one. And then things get that kind of interesting down here. We'll go ahead and throw in Mr. Hollister, as you mentioned, that second tight end. You know, not exactly the most shiny lineup in the world here, and you can make an argument that we might want to go up from Dan Arnold to maybe like a Chenault if we can. That leaves us with 1,100, and then we could throw in Hollister. Maybe feel a little bit better with the Marvin Jones Chenault combination, and then throwing in Hollister rather than taking a risk on Arnold in his first game. Maybe he's just getting accustomed to that game plan. So that lineup makes a lot of sense to me on DraftKings as a little sneak peek of something we could be going to. And then on FanDuel, it's a whole different ball game. You really need the top scoring guy in the MVP slot. There is no different fluctuated salary based upon whether in that slot or not. It's all the same salary. It's just a matter of whether you put him in the MVP slot or the flex spot. And for that reason, things can get different over here. Let's just say we think that Cincinnati gets up big. They run the ball a lot with Joe Mixon, which I think is more than reasonable game script to be having here. We'll throw in Joe Mixon in the MVP spot, say he really goes off. As part of that getting up big, we'll throw in Joe Burrow and Tyler Boyd as mentioned in the previous build. And then that leaves us with 10-5 to run it back on the other side. We'll go with Marvin Jones. That's 11-5, and we got 9-5 left. We could throw in Evan McPherson in the kicker spot, or we still have enough for Chenault. So kind of a similar build to what we did over there, but this time we're going with the Joe Mixon running back spot, thinking that he's the one that's going to go in the end zone for those touchdowns. So that just gives you an idea of what you should be doing. Always be coming up with a game script in your head as you're building these lineups as to what's going to happen. This team's going to get up and you know, they're going to run the ball a lot, etc. You got to have a game script and game theory in your lineup where you're not going to be able to get to the top of those standings. So that would be my advice. Those are my picks. Those are some of the stats on both of these sides, some usage of these players. And that is all from me for this Thursday Night Football Showdown slate. If you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. I'm going to have further content for this NFL Week 4 slate coming out at the end of the week, and I do offer MLB content as well. So if you're interested in all that, you're interested in the premium package, check that out, link below in the description, and you can become a KJK DFS member now on YouTube, become part of the fan club. You get a badge next to your name. It's just a way of showing support to me, and you do get priority in the comments. Any comment that you ask will be first priority. Check all that out. Wish you guys all the best of luck in this Thursday Night Football Showdown slate, and we will see you in the next one.